You are listening to the Money Hour at 11:50 a.m. KKNW, the Saturday, August 6th show. You can also listen to my podcast, my Facebook premiere, or you can catch my show on my show YouTube channel. In addition, for more information on my upcoming events, you can go to tinamitchellevents.com. I am your host, Tina Mitchell, and your local mortgage expert. I bring into studio each week the best of the best experts in our local market on everything regarding your money. And now in studio, Bill Cohen Caregiving Support Consultants, LLC. I think my mom has dementia. What do I do first? Right here on 11:50 a.m. at KKNW. Bill, welcome back to the show.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, very excited to have you. So, Bill, why did you become caregiving? I know we talked a little bit in our panel conversation, but why a caregiving support consultant?
Again, as I mentioned earlier, people suddenly are seeing those signs, and we're going to talk about it in a moment. And what do they do now? Or there's been a diagnosis. Wow, dementia, Alzheimer's, they're not prepared. And so they feel alone, they're feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, and they don't know where to turn first, because that's how I felt about 18 years ago.
Yeah. And isn't it's such a beautiful thing when you go through a tragic life event and you don't have the resources that you need, that it inspires you to be that resource for someone else that goes through that. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Bill, when did you first become concerned about your mom's symptoms? Because we talked a little bit in the beginning of the show and in the introduction, and maybe you can kind of give a recap of that with your mom, who has passed from Alzheimer's. So where did you start to be concerned?
I'd say somewhere around 2004. She was living in Biloxi, Mississippi. Obviously, I'm not from there. And she was showing signs like paranoia, confusion, not taking care of the house, not taking care of the finances, just mood swings, things like that. And definitely some memory issues. The taxes were sitting on a table in the dining room, hardly being touched. What I heard from other family members, she'd move them around a little bit and then walk away. Because she used to be a whiz. She was an early adapter of a Mac. She followed Motley Fool. I almost said Motley Crue. I'm no fan.
She was quite the partier.
Right, exactly. She would do the taxes herself and then run it by a CPA. She wasn't handling it. And we thought that, and she was in the caregiving role herself from my late stepfather. And we thought if he went into a care community or passed away, because he was on hospice, would she bounce back? Was it just stress? Was it age? Was it that she was just exhausted? We never got that opportunity because of what happened the end of this month back in 2005 on the Gulf Coast, Katrina.
Yeah.
The house that had survived all the other storms was completely swept away down to the foundation. Needless to say, the trauma of seeing her house gone exacerbated, accelerated whatever was starting to come on.
Wow.
And we did get her on a couple of the medications to try to manage her behaviors, because even now, as you may know, maybe your listeners know, there is still no cure or treatment.
Yes.
We're getting closer.
Yeah. My mother-in-law, quite a few years ago, it was actually her. She says, I'm kind of worried because I took Seiko, her dog, out for a walk. And if it wasn't for Seiko, I wouldn't have been able to find my way home. And we're like, oh my gosh. And then, of course, she was diagnosed with early stages of Alzheimer and dementia. So what should a caregiver do first, Bill?
It's kind of a two-edged.
Or I guess that's another question. When did you, I'm sorry. Go ahead. What should a caregiver do first?
Right. It's a two-edged sword. One, you definitely want to make sure they are safe and getting good care either at home or someplace. I mean, those are things you need to start asking. The other is to be looking at the legal aspects and finances, because do you have power of attorney to handle their affairs? Do you have the advance directive to know what their wishes are, or to be their personal health representative.
Yeah.
If it's getting further along, is there a pulse to physician's order for life-sustaining treatment? And then, of course, you're getting into wills, trust, and everything else. Who else should be involved? What support is available? Not all family members are going to be cooperative, and they may have ulterior motives. They may give you unsolicited advice. I've got some answers for those if you want to ask. And these are some of the first questions, because we all knew there was something wrong. Did we question it? Did we discuss it? Absolutely. We didn't. Did we know exactly what was wrong? No. You may see other signs like mom's cooking her recipe, but for some reason it doesn't quite taste the same.
Yeah.
You may not be putting all the right ingredients. Hopefully she's not putting something bad in there.
Yeah.
Dad keeps asking the same question. When's Johnny coming home? When's my appointment? Are there dents and scratches on that new car?
Yeah. So watching out for those, for those little things. Yeah, for sure. So Bill, who are your ideal or typical clients, and when should you be connecting with them, or when should people be getting you connected with those clients?
Well, like I mentioned about the chowder at the beginning of the meal, as early as possible. Partly because I can help them more. Physicians can help them more, but the more that you plan, prepare, you're being proactive, is highly advantageous. Having to react in a crisis is going to be emotional, urgent, and you're going to have fewer options. So yes, as soon as possible. Don't say, oh, they're just getting older. Oh, they're tired. They're just stressed, and sweep it under the rug. Have the conversation. Need to
have those difficult conversations first. It's like anything else. Procrastination does not get you anywhere, but ultimately, eventually, a disaster scenario and an urgent scenario.
Very quickly, as we know, many aging parents or family members may say, we're fine. We don't need help. We've always been independent. And this is where you, if you're the sole person to be talking to them, or your siblings or other family members, have the conversation. You may have to do a kind of a group intervention of sorts. But again, get the legal help and get the documents in place.
Absolutely. And I would imagine earlier in the stage as well, before they get to the anxiety space to where they're going to start fighting, most likely they're going to be more open to, let's kind of figure out, what plans are, right? When you wait too long, then that's when that personality shift is coming in, and it's going to be more challenging there. So Bill, did you ever imagine that you would become a caregiver, then a volunteer, and then an advisor for caregivers?
So what I provide is advice, resources, support, and referrals as needed. Because I am fairly unique, there are very few people doing what I'm doing around the country. Most people are focused again on the care recipient and their specialty, like housing or home care, that type of thing, or elder law. I'm like a coordinator, a guide, advisor. Some people may call me a quarterback. I am a connector and a networker. So I like to look at the big picture, and like you were talking about earlier, put the right people together. Who else should they be talking to? Not just a housing person, elder law, but all the people, all the care. And I try to put together the care team and the care plan for the family.
What a huge benefit. What was that?
So they sleep better at night.
Huge benefit of, and anything that you're looking at doing is look at your expert that you're with right now and let them lead you to the people that you need to be with, because that's part of their expertise, and in building that network that's specific for product and service that they offer. So Bill, what is the difference? Can you explain the difference between Alzheimer and dementia? And I'm having a hard time saying it because I've always said Alzheimer, and I eventually figured out I was saying it incorrectly, and now I just can't say it correctly today. But anyways, what is the difference between the two of them?
Let me give you an analogy. When we think about cancer, and there are different types: lung cancer, breast cancer, prostate, etc. Those are different kinds of cancer, and cancer is the umbrella term. Dementia is the umbrella term. Alzheimer's happens to be, unfortunately too, the most prevalent. It is terminal. There is still no cure. It's the 6th leading cause of death. It is a progressive, debilitating disease that starts in the hippocampus and into the cortex, and eventually takes over all functions, not just memory, but spatial, executive functioning, all those areas. And eventually the body just starts shutting down, and it is gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
It is aggravating to watch a loved one go through that.
Yeah, yes, definitely. For sure it is. Bill, what resources are available and how can someone find those?
And this is a good segue from your earlier question. And it's one of the first things I did, is to look at resources or organizations like the Alzheimer's Association. And even though that is in the name, they cover all types of dementia. They are national. You're near the Canadian border. Any listeners up there, the Alzheimer's Society up there, or network, and they have support groups, they have education, they're doing research, all kinds of things that are beneficial, not only the caregivers, but hopefully the future care recipients.
Yeah. Okay. So Bill, what are the biggest problems and concerns for caregivers?
Burning out, or worse.
Yeah.
If they don't take care of themselves and be watching out for their own health, they can get burned out, they can get sick, or worse. Here's a very telling and troubling statistic. And it's a little bit of the extreme, but we know that it is a higher risk factor the older you get. Mm-hmm. Let me preface that. Dementia is not a normal part of aging, but as you age, your risk level goes higher.
Yeah.
But we need to look at taking steps preventatively going forward to take care of it. So, yeah. It's preventable. There's a lot of factors regarding dementia. It can be for lack of nutrition, bad sleep, overuse of alcohol, brain trauma, all kinds of factors.
Wow. Yeah. Speaking from experience, we had my mother-in-law had caregivers, that came into her home. But my husband was just, managing through that process and managing when they weren't, the times that they weren't there. That was stressful. I mean, he wasn't even doing things full time. He was just stepping in until, and eventually she's currently in a home now, but that's wearing. And then if you are a caregiver for your loved one, just think the emotional stress on top of that, because it's your loved one. So you have to take even extra special care of yourself more than you would have normally, because a lot of that energy is being given in that space. And you've got to have the space for yourself to emotionally be able to deal with the fact that you're watching your mother or your father or your grandparents go through this as you're trying to be a caregiver for them. And that's why I think it's best to really make sure that you're hiring some outside help.
I apologize. I got off on a tangent of the statistic I was going to mention.
What?
I didn't say the statistic I was going to mention.
Yes.
Is that we get off in tangents, right? Is that when you're talking about people over 70 years of age, caregivers for someone living with dementia, about 2/3 of the time they predecease the person they're caring for.
Really?
That is really troubling, but it's also preventable, because if you take care of your own health, you go for a massage, you go to see your own doctor, you get your exercise, things like that, it is preventable.
Yeah. Yeah. So Bill, how do you work and help with families and their person living with dementia?
So both in person and virtually, one of the side benefits to the pandemic has been, for many of us, has been starting to work more virtually and beyond maybe our physical area. And I like to say, we got handed lemons, I make limoncello. So I've been able to work with families all over the country virtually, as well as people in person here. And it always starts with an initial consultation, like many professionals we are. There's no obligation, no cost. And then I work either on a monthly or an hourly basis. It is strictly private pay, just not involved with Medicare or insurance, et cetera. And like I said earlier, I ask a lot of questions, do a lot of listening, find out what their needs are, from legal, financial, the care, the health, what support you need, family dynamics, what's the current housing situation? Are you going to a support group? I mean, I think about my two aunts, and I said at one point, are you getting counseling? Are you going to a support group? Oh, we don't need that.
Yeah.
And I think it was partly cultural and generational.
Yeah.
But I remember when mom was on hospice and the social worker was there, and my aunt would be talking to her, and I'm thinking, now you're getting some support. Now you're getting some counseling.
Yes.
Didn't matter what they were talking about, but she was getting support.
Sure.
It was very stressed. That was her older sister.
Yeah, it is watching a loved one go through something so traumatic. So we talked about, initial meeting with you, consultation is complimentary. How are you compensated moving forward?
Okay. Again, it be either on a monthly basis, which gives you several hours of care and support and advice, or it can be by the hour, $75 an hour. The monthly fee is $300, and that's usually for ongoing, complicated, and/or long-distance situations.
Got it. Okay.
Purposely very affordable.
Yes. So, Bill, as I'm wrapping up my time with you here today, we have less than a minute to go. Can you share about your volunteer work, including support group fundraising and advocacy?
Love to. Proud of that. Very happy to do it. I think I mentioned the Walk to End Alzheimer's is my 9th year leading Team Sheila in my mother's honor. I lead 3 different support groups. Some are in person, some are virtual, and doing a memory cafe, as well as, like I said, advocacy of the legislature. I am very involved with my local Chamber of Commerce. I was Volunteer of the Year a couple of years ago.
Congratulations.
Yep. So that's just an example. I love to give back community and to help others as much as I can.
Yeah, that is wonderful. Well, Bill, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for taking care of our seniors, the seniors that need you most. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.